Hey, it's MK, and I am here with another 31 days of cut files with MK and Janet. And today, I am actually on the last day for the storytelling, and it is this amazing banner with florals behind it made by Janet herself. And I'm also playing along with Stitches and Stencils, which I do believe we do it on the fourth Saturday of every month, and I'm just a bit behind. So I picked out 3 stencils to work with today. One is a stencil by Stamperia, and the other 2 are Arden Creative that Katie Petite designed for her Lakeside Hidden Creek collection. I got a couple inks that I planned on using with my stencils, and then I have these leftover little tickets and things. I don't know if I'm going to use the chipboard, but I am going to be using a couple little seed packets that I have in there from a previous project. And then from Pear Tree Cut Files, I have a ton of acrylic and some wood veneer pieces, as well as some flair that I got from a project. She calls them project packs. And this one is all about gardening. So I thought it was going to be perfect because this was the first year that my husband and I did a garden and we actually produced food. Like edible, really eating food. Now, I have done a garden many years in the past, back in 2012, 2010, 11, somewhere in there. I did a garden long time ago, and then I've moved since then. And the dirt that is around my property now, or our property, is very clay-ish. And so we had to work in a ton of sand and a ton of something else, graphite, I think, something like that. We had to work that into the dirt in order to get it to be nutritional or ready for the plants, and it's taken several seasons. I don't, if I say years sounds like a lot, but it's taking several different seasons. Okay, so from Close to My Heart, I have this In Full Bloom from 2022. It was one of their last paper collections that was very popular. I also have Minte Day by Day. Now this is from 2020. I don't know if it's still available, but it is a cut-apart sheet, and usually I used to buy 2 or 3 of these cut-apart sheets because the back sides were very neutral, very easy to use. And so I had just had that left over. I don't think I have any other pieces. And then I've got all of these pictures. I actually have 16 pictures in total, I believe. I don't know if I can recount or not, but I have a ton of pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yep, 16 pictures. I can count. And I'm trying to decide, excuse me, that was very high. I'm trying to decide if I want it to be in the middle with my banner behind my pictures and only showing the floral bits and not really use the banner at all. Or if I want to try to figure out how to keep the pictures down below and be able to hang my banner. Because initially, I was actually going to use the banner as my title piece, and that's where all the different titles came in. I wasn't sure if I was going to use the acrylic titles. I wasn't sure if I was going to use the chipboard title, which just says Treasured Memories. Again, that little Ziploc baggie was from a previous layout that I did last year, and actually it was from a class that Janet and I did together. So the little wood veneer pieces as well as the chipboard pieces, the wood veneers were made special for the class, and then of course the chipboard pieces were just part of the layout that I made for the class as well. Janet and I try to do a class at least once a year. We are working on a class in progress right now. We were supposed to launch it in September, but both of us, our lives kind of got in the way. I'm not really sure if we are going to produce the class this year or if we are going to be waiting until next year. I still need to get with Janet on that, but we do like to do a class together at least once a year, and it is live on Zoom. But they are recorded in case you can't make the Zoom. We try to do them in the afternoons. That way it's not too late for our East Coasters and it's not too early for our Westerners. So yes, that is what we try to do. All right, and then I have several pieces of scraps left over from the previous projects in this month, and I didn't have any green, so I went ahead and I made my own green just by taking some Beam watercolor paint and painting a scrap of white cardstock that I had in my little organizer off to my left. I actually haven't even taken, you guys will laugh at me, but I have not even taken out my kit, counterfeit kit from June. Yes, it is still in there. And I just have been rifling through it, to be honest, you guys. And then if I don't have anything in there that I can use, all of my categories and whatnot are on a table behind me in more organizers. And so I just go to the category that I need, sift through the organizer, and then pick out my papers. So I love that process. However, I need to get into the process of actually putting the items back. I'm very bad about leaving all my leftovers off to my right where my trimmer is, and then I just keep stacking my trimmer on top of all the pieces. Yes, that is my process. I have my kits to the left, my scraps go over to the right, and then of course if there's anything that I'm missing, it is all behind me on a table that is about 8 feet long. Yeah, just in case you guys are curious. I know I haven't done, I think I did. Did I do a room tour yet in my new room? I think I've been here for well over a year now. I don't know if I've done a room tour or not. Anyways, but yes, that is my process for, creating YouTube videos, in case anybody was curious. But so here I am just taking all of these little scraps. You might recognize some of the scraps because I've been playing with them all month long. And that is just me being pure lazy. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that, hey, by chance these colors happen to match what I've got going on, which is kind of coinky-dinky because they actually do. The yellows and the pinks and everything has just come together and matched really well. But the best part about a garden is it's all green. So I could have picked any color under the sun and it still would have matched the color green. And so, which is weird because I didn't have a single green piece of paper on my desk. None. I had aqua, but not green. So, anywho, gonna go ahead and take my colored in green white cardstock, and I love this because actually what happened with the watercolor is now it's variegated, and so my leaves aren't all the same in every little opening of this cut file, which I think is adorable. And I do want to apologize that I end up cutting it apart and using only the flowery bits, but that is the point of all of these videos, to be honest, is to share with you guys multiple ways of how to use your cut files. You do not have to use your cut files in its entirety. You can cut it up and use it however you wish or however you need it to work for you, especially the large cut files like the typewriter. I didn't mind cutting off a little bit of my typewriter because it did not fit on my 9x12 layout that I was doing, but I was okay with it because I used 85% of it, right? So I'm okay with that. It's just super fun to be able to, get these cut files and bend them to your will. I love that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish off. Now, I did fast forward this quite a bit just so you guys could see my process. I try to save paper by doing one leaf at a time instead of laying down all the leaves and then having to cut. I feel like it also tones down the bulk of what's behind my cut file. So if I were to just lay the leaf down or the set of leaves and then cut out around them, then eventually behind my banner piece, it would have been huge. It would have been very, very thick. So I just do individual leaves all the way around. Plus it saves on paper. Not that you need to save your scraps, but it does save a little bit on paper, and it saves the bulk behind your cut file. All right, so I've got a grid going on. I have all of my photos printed on 4x6s. The best part about printing on a 4x6 is no matter what arrangement that you do, you are always able to make some sort of grid on your layout, because a 4x6 will always go back to being a 4x6. And then of course you've got your squares and your rectangles, no squares here, but all of your rectangles, and then making more rectangles or larger rectangles. So that is what I'm going to be doing. And then I love that strip of the 3x4s, which they're actually a little smaller because I have a white border around them, but they are technically 3x4s, just kind of bordering the two pages. Now because I only had one of my Minte papers, I did bring out another trimmer to go ahead and gut out one piece. So that way I am able to mat both of my grids with the same piece. And I really like this foundation for my photos. But of course, because we're playing in the dirt, I have to make it all ruffly and scuffly up, right? So I'm going to use my edge distresser and get it going. And then I didn't like how white my paper was, so I'm going to go ahead and ink that up with whatever ink was left on my blending tool. And I don't know if I left it in or not, but I forget to ink the other page. I do eventually, but I don't know if I leave that in or not. So another beam paint sitting on my desk. This one is the brown one. I think it's something grizzly. I don't know. Super cute. And it has a lot of gold filament in it. It's beautiful, beautiful. And I am just inking the edge of my marbled paper here. And I'm using my glass mat to just help. Well, for one, I'm cleaning off my brush, because when I ruffled up the edges or scuffed up the edges with my edge distresser, it left a lot of, what does Janet call it? Paper dandruff. And it was sticking to my paintbrush. And so I was using my desk to get that dandruff out of my paintbrush. And then I just wiped it up with a paper towel, and we went. Mush on. I love my glass mat, you guys. I really do. I do have to apologize though, because the previous videos, I was using the old link that I had to purchase the glass mats, but I believe I fixed it. I believe. If not, shoot me a message. Say, hey, it's not fixed, and I will make sure. So I'm also going to take another little strip of this striped paper from Close to My Heart and edge both of these pieces, just again for more interest, to where it looks like this layout is full of layers, even though there's not really a whole lot of room for layers. I didn't leave a lot of room for anything. Another thing that I also like to do when I have a ton of photos is busy papers, because it seems to me like when you have busy papers and you add your photos to it, then all of a sudden your eye becomes trained right to your photos. Your busy paper gets completely ignored and everything goes to your photos. And I don't know why that happens. I don't know what the magic secret is. I just know that it works. It might even be the marbled border or the subtle border that I put around my photos that helps draw all that attention in. So anyways, this is pretty much how the layout is going to look. I'm going to take my square stitching template, and you can't really see it, but I'm going to use it just for some straight lines and get those holes poked out, so that way I can create a grid in between my pictures. One of the reasons why I am doing this is because I am doing a series that with Janet Fritz, and who is Galaxy Girl Creations here on YouTube, and Sandy Reversky, who is State Goddess here on YouTube. That's called Stitches and Stencils. So I used 3 different stencils to create my background. But then I'm also going to be adding some hand stitching, and part of the reason is because I had to gut out my marbled paper, so that way I had enough paper to stretch across both pages, seeing how I didn't have 2 pieces of the paper. And so when I add those stitching in there, it'll take away from the fact that the marbling, you can't see it in between all of my pieces like you can on this grid over here. So I think it's going to help a lot. What the stitching is. At least by the time I'm done stitching, I don't even remember that the paper didn't go all the way through. So hopefully you'll see it in the close-ups, and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so I cut off one of the flowers and leaves that will be mostly covered up, or definitely covered up by my pictures and whatnot. So I'm going to keep the large portion over on my left page, and then I'm going to take it and bring the rest of the cut file to my right page. That way I have matching elements on both sides. So it seems like a lot is going on this layout, even though there is not a whole lot. I definitely think that the pictures help out, but I was able to use a ton of embellishments as well, especially when they are all on the smaller side. And it feels really, really good to be able to use so many elements on a page and yet get so many pictures on a page as well. All right, so stitching template again, and the the mat that I'm using behind my my layout is just a fun foam that I happen to have sitting off to the side of me because I was being too lazy to find out where my mat actually went, and my original mat is only 4x4. I'm working on customizing some piercing mats, because of the fact that the 4x4 just is not working on my full-size layout. So I'm working on it. I will keep you informed how that process is going. And of course, you might see something in the shop, right? In the shape of a piercing mat. Okay, so I'm going to go through these little flares. Said everything perfectly for the gardening. I absolutely loved all the little sayings. One of them says, free weeds, pick them yourself. Another one says, the gardeners know all the good dirt. Things like that. And so I could not, I mean, they made me giggle. So I really wanted to put them on my layout. I love these little elements here that are little stakes that tell me what, like one of them had onions, lettuce, and carrots, I believe is what they said. And that is perfect because I'm not sure if you can see in my pictures, but my husband and I had a larger version of these stakes, so that way we knew where this crop started and where the other one, where the next one started. I am going to use this chipboard frame and just frame around my puppy, who is, the guardian of the peas. We started collecting our peas, and that is what my husband is doing. He's picking peas. And we started putting them in a pile, and Roscoe decided, well, this is a great spot to lay down right here. And so he kind of sniffed a couple of them, but the only time that he was actually interested was when he wanted, when we started pulling the carrots and the corn. He was going to eat the corn without even unhusking them. He was like, oh, that smells great. But when it came to the peas, he was like, no, thank you. We were super ecstatic. The picture of me up at the top, excuse me if you can hear my machine in the background. The picture up at the top is how I was sharing that the corn got taller than I was. And that is a first for us, or for me anyways. And then the carrots are also a first. We have never, ever been able to grow carrots. Our onions did not come in. Our green beans got eaten by the birds. So we do have a lot to still process, but this was so fun and so rewarding, because now we have a ton of corn, we have a ton of peas. We've already made 4 different meals out of our peas, and then our carrots are fabulous. We didn't get a whole lot of carrots, but our carrots are fabulous for our salads. And I pulled one out of the ground. It's not any of the ones in the pictures, but I pulled one out of the ground, and my son instantly took it inside. My youngest son took it inside, washed it, and ate it right out. He didn't even strip it down out of the roots or anything. He just washed it and started eating it. And he walks back out to the garden as we are still picking peas, because our peas were nuts this year. And he walks up and goes, "What's up, Doc?" But our peas, they produced, and then we picked, and then they produced again, and then we picked, and then they produced again. We have never, ever had peas do that. Last year was peas was the only thing, and we had just enough to where I think we were able to sprinkle them on a salad, and that was it. We did not have enough peas to make meals out of them. But this time, I mean, really working the ground the way that we did, it did wonders, you guys. It really, really did. I'm so glad that we took the time to till in the sand and till in the, gypsum? Maybe it's gypsum. Oh my goodness. I have no idea. It's a rock product that my dad told us about, and we just tilled it in and then weeded and then tilled it in again and then weeded and then tilled it in again, and then our weeds also came in like monstrous. We couldn't keep up with the weeds either, so we'll have to figure out weed control for next year. But it was super fun and super rewarding doing this, and so all of our we had our corn. Oh my gosh, the corn was so good. I'm just super ecstatic to have, to be able to do this. This was super fun, and I can't wait for next year. I have a large box that I'm going to be doing certain things in for that, like peppers and things like that. So it's going to be more of a, what do they call that? When you put the garden in a box, a raised bed is what it's going to be instead of the garden in the ground. And so we're going to try that one next year too for a few other things. Okay, so I'm going to finish this layout off with, I did end up taking those tickets and things. Now those tickets were from 49 and Market. I don't know if I told you guys that, but they're from 49 and Market, and I want to say the Alana collection. That sounds familiar, but now I don't really remember if that was the real name or not. But that's all I had left over, was that whatever was in that little baggie. I don't even have paper or anything. I know that I used it all up on that last layout that I did for class. And so this was it, and they were the perfect colors. Like, it was meant to be for this layout, and especially with the seed packets still in there left over from that class as well. I used a couple of the things, but the seed packets were the one thing that I did not end up using. But they were perfect. I mean, I could not have planned this any better. It was just great. And I love all the little colors, all the little pieces that ended up on this layout. It just worked out really, really well. And I had no idea that I had so much gardening things. All right, you guys, so that is my layout for today. I also offer some gardening things in the shop as well. I've used them on previous layouts. I did not use them on my layout because I don't want all of my layouts to start featuring the exact same things over and over again. But I do have some wood veneer gardening items in my shop as well that aren't as thick as these ones. These acrylic pieces are quite thick, but I love adding dimension to my layouts. So I am perfectly fine with the thicker elements. But of course, some people like to keep their layouts nice and thin and fit more pages in their albums. All right, you guys, don't forget to check out Janet Fritz's channel. She is Galaxy Girl Creations here on YouTube, as well as Sandy Reversky, who is State Goddess here on YouTube, because they are also playing along with Stitches and Stencils with me. I also have a playlist for Stitches and Stencils. It only features my previous ones. I'm not sure if the other two gals have a playlist of their own or not, but we never talked about a playlist. I don't know why. We'll have to come up with something like that. Also, too, don't forget to check out the playlist for 31 Days of Cut Files. I know Janet puts her layouts in there, or videos in there, as well as other YouTubers playing along with 31 Days for this year. And then, of course, we've got links down below for our Facebook groups, Janet and myself, because that is where non-YouTubers are posting their layouts. All right, you guys, again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I truly appreciate it, and I will check you guys all later. Bye.